What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Nemesis podcast. And today is a day to where we will remember as the last day of the play-ins. And I guess there's technically 2.5 hours ago if you're going by Eastern Standard Time or whatever you want to say it. But today I'm here and joined by the one and only Bmatt, our provisional knowledgeable man. Bmatt, welcome to the podcast. I think this is your first one ever, maybe. I'm not sure, but welcome.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about some playoff action. We've been looking forward to playoffs since the season started, preseason for provisional and all that. I'm excited. This is where it matters.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where it matters. This is where the little boys become men. I don't know. We're still playing Rocket League. We're a bunch of kids at heart, right? Just for everybody, listening and or watching on YouTube and or listening on Spotify or whatever you want to do. If it might be, if you're just watching and just have nothing else to do, it would be wise to pull up the playoff bracket on the public player sheet. It is found in the info, in the Nemesis Discord, just to understand what we're talking about, because we're going to be talking about the first round of the playoffs. We're not talking about the whole playoffs today. We're just going to be talking about the first round in every single league. And, let's get started. So, every single league, I can't talk, we got to start from the bottom. That's just kind of how you got to do it. So, BMAT, all right, let's take a look at Provisional. All right, so we have Wolfpack winning 3-0 today. Just a little recap. Against Agility, nice sweep by them. My boys, the Wolfpack, the last season champions, trying to get back to the rightful place on the thrones once again. But other than that, BMAT, sweep for them. And it looks like they're playing Sirens here in the first round. So, I'm gonna give you more questions since this is like your go-to league, because you are a part of this league. So, what do you got from here on out? Best of sevens. Who do you got in the first round here?
Best of sevens, Wolfpack, they started as, I believe, the 10 seed in provisional, so they were the lowest seed there. And, they won their first round and their second round. They're coming off the sweep of Agility. Sirens are really solid. They looked really good throughout the season. I believe both times we played them, I believe we might have lost to them both times. But they're a solid team. Wolfpack's going to have a lot on their plate against them. But Wolfpack's been playing pretty good recently, like you said, coming off their 2 wins. I think they're going to give Sirens a run for their money. I know it's your team, but I think I'm going to have to take Sirens. I'd say they can push it to 6. I don't see it going 7 necessarily, but I think it's going to be a pretty solid.
I'm interested. I'm interested in the first place because it's my own team, and they've truthfully surprised me as their GM. I've seen them. I kind of knew what their starting roster would have done, and I didn't tell them this yet unless they're gonna listen to this. But my, bracket prediction before anything even started, I didn't even have Wolfpack making the playoffs. I know my own team, but I know it's kind of rough for me to say. I don't want to go down on the boys. I'm not saying like they suck. I do think they're a good squad. I just think if they put it together though, they'll be all right. But Sirens, when like you said, is a very solid roster as well. And I don't know. This is gonna be a very interesting game, BMAT. And let's get. So you got Sirens. I got Wolfpack at this point, even though I didn't even have them going this far. But hey, at this point they're my ride or die because they're my team. But if we look on the match 2 here, you're actually playing in it, Mr. BMAT. It's you, Uprising, versus the Mongos. I gotta make fun of that org's names because they are my rivals. So this might be a little bit biased prediction, BMAT, but what do you got for this one?
There is some bias going. I see us winning. May or may not be because it's my team. I gotta root us on, but I know the last time we played Mangoes, I believe we beat them 3-1 or something close to that. We've had their number throughout the year. Mangoes, they're not a bad team, but especially with the new roster additions that we made before the end of the season, we've become like a pretty solid roster. So I would say we can probably, I would say either we would win in 5 or 6. I could see a 4-1, a 4-2, especially being at a 7, like a 7-game series. I don't see a sweep or anything like that, but I think we have that in the bag. I mean, you're rooting for Wolfpack, like you said. A nice little Cinderella story would be cool. I got to root on myself.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you don't have the balls to root for yourself, I don't know what else. So, yeah, if it's you personally on the team, you would probably want yourself to win. Even though the mangoes and I don't really necessarily like the Fruit Ninja org, they're a solid team. And truthfully, Bmatt, I'm not trying to like wreck on your parade, but I think they got you at 7. I think they're a good team. I think it'll be close, but the mangoes they're pretty good overall. I know they're like it's a little bit slept on. They did come from the play-ins, but they had a demanding victory against Agility, and I think if they piece it together right, they might even go on a deep run here in the short playoffs that we have for provisional. But, do you have any like final comments, concerns here for the first round, BMET? Anything about this? Because after this, it's up from here.
Oh yeah, I mean, after this, it's your expertise, Mr. Novice Man. But you know, I can see us taking it to 7 with Mangoes, but I can't see where they beat us. I was just looking back at the match records. The last time we played them, we actually swept them. I thought it was 3-1, I think, but it was actually a sweep. I mean, obviously that was a couple weeks ago, but I think when we played against them, we looked pretty dominant. So if we can keep up that kind of play style, I see us taking.
Hey, anything can happen. We've seen a 10th seed before win it all. So, anything can happen here in Nemesis. But let's move on, B man. Let's head on to my league, the novice league. So, first round, we got double the amount of matches from here on out because Revision only has 2 matches for the first round because the 1 and 2 seeds get a bye. And so now it is 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5, respectively. And this is from novice all the way up to the Titan League. And we're just going to go from top to bottom. So we're going to start with me first. Yay! Frost versus Aurora. And just to recap a little bit about Aurora today, they made Dorfin mold out of the league today, as I have found out. And a lot of people probably they're not even mad about that, BMAT, because Dorfin, he's stirred up some feathers here in Nemesis.
Yeah, Dorfin, he almost reminds me of myself. I like to kind of mess with people and, push people's buttons, get under their skin, whatever, just to be annoying. Dorfin's kind of the same kind of guy, except, things just didn't work out for him. I'm still here. People try and, get under my skin, get back at me, whatever. I just kind of, I mess with it, I chill with it. But Dorfin had enough of it today. We may see him in the future, whatever, but I don't blame him. I mean, sometimes enough is enough.
Also, this is what I have to say about it. People do the same thing to me. It's because I'm guilty of it. I'll say it. But if you dish it out, gotta expect it in return. But let's move on from that. Let's move on from the low. The guy molding out of the league. Let's talk about the playoffs. All right, here we go. So first up, Aurora. Just a little bit of recap. Like I said, they won against Pawns today. They looked very demanding. Looked very fast. Um, I'm not gonna say person carried on their team because truthfully, I'm not saying they're bad, but I don't see like a star player on their team. Truthfully, but they do capitalize on mistakes, that is very good and obviously. That's a little bit of recap about Aurora, just how their match went today against the Pawns, and so they got to go up against me, the number 1 seed in Frost. Me is a Chad and Lasagna Man and BMet. I know it's gonna be biased. I think we're gonna win this. I think truthfully, we flow so good together. We have passing plays. It's great, and I think we're gonna win in 6. I don't think it sweeps too much. Even 4-1, I think is a little bit too much because I do have to give credit where credit's due. Aurora is still a good team. They made it to the playoffs. They made it through the play-ins. They had to get here somehow. So I think it'll be 4-2 in favor of Frost. What do you think, B-Met?
I was really leaning towards a sweep, if I'm being honest. I mean, you guys have looked so good all season, and Aurora, speed's my boy. I like speed, but I just don't think Aurora is really going to compete very well against you guys. I can see it going 5, but I really wouldn't be shocked if you're able to get the sweep done.
Just a little nugget for anybody that doesn't know. Aurora and Frost actually had a trade deadline trade. It was Speed, being traded for Lasagna Man. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these rosters kind of, you know, come together and like try to battle each other because Speeds want to knock us out of the playoffs because we were his former team, and then Lasagna's probably the same way because Aurora is his own favorite team. They traded him off, and Bmatt, thank you for saying we're gonna sweep. I don't know if that's realistic. I'll be a little bit more mindful. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna sweep everybody in the playoffs because that's how good I am. I gotta just be a little bit more calmer about it, a little bit more realistic. I think. I mean, is a sweep realistic? Realistic? Maybe, but I'm not gonna go that far. So we got me and you taking on Frost for the first match, and for the second match here, none of these teams actually went through the plans. They actually just clinched playoffs originally. It is Wisps versus Genesis, and B-Man, I'm gonna throw it to you first. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Who do you think is gonna win?
I mean, like you said, they both clinched the playoffs together. I believe the 4 and the 5, possibly, if I'm not wrong. Um, I can see it going 7. This is going to be one of those super close games, but I got to take Genesis just because it's my org. I'm a part of Evolutions. I got to root for us. Um, I know Genesis has been pretty solid throughout the year. Both teams have really, but I got to use the bias there. Bias is going to go all the way.
Always.
It's going to be really close. It's going to be a solid game, but I definitely could go in 6, if not 7.
Now this is where I'm torn a little bit, B-Man, because I had Parallax and Icarus on my team last season. Not me personally, but like in the org. And Icarus always makes it to semis. Every single time he was with Frost. I think 2 or 3 seasons. I think it was 3. Sorry if I'm if I'm not getting it right, but they've always made it to semis and always lost in like game 7 or something like that. But truthfully, I think they're a good team, but I
But
think Wisps will take the edge in this in 6. I think the Vokes magic will happen, and I think it'll be a little bit too much for Icarus and Parallax to hold up to. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think Vokes is overall the better player, and it's gonna be interested to see because Cognition's also on the Wisps roster. He was a All Star this season as well. Same with Vokes. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Wisps and 6 BMET for this one. Sorry, I think that's
I
just
mean, I
that's the rules.
can definitely respect that. You have solid reasoning, like you said, Vokes and Cognition both. But I don't know. Something tells me it's going to be a very close
Oh,
series, no matter who
absolutely.
it goes to. But I see it going deep either way.
Yeah, I feel like most of these playoff series are going to be close. Event you're going to get some of those like 4-0 sweeps that you always get it. Nobody ever expects it because it's the playoffs, right? And everybody's like, oh, you're actually like not a terrible team. You're not like 0-18 Gladiators. Oops, sorry. Um, my bad. But let's move on. Let's move on, B-Man. So after that, we go to the other side of the bracket where we have Vikings taking on Acceleration, and this I think is going to be the more interesting out of the. Ooh, I got like a chill up my spine. Not necessarily about the match, but I think it's gonna be the interesting match in novice. Um, I I don't know who's gonna win this, but I'll let you go first, just so I can like maybe steal your idea if you have one. But what do you got for me for this Vikings acceleration match?
I really haven't seen the Vikings play at all this season. Um, Acceleration, I know Redwater, Jolly Rogers, and Fluffy. I know all 3 of them. So I know they're decent players, individually. I'm not sure how well they mesh together, but when you look at their record, 11-7, that shows something. They got to be clicking somewhere. So, I mean, based on what I've seen from at least Acceleration, I don't have anything, like any knowledge about the Vikings. I think Acceleration could probably take it, but that's all one sided. So, really, I don't even know. I mean, I know Jolly Rogers is pretty good. He can step up in big situations. He has in the past, you know, few seasons, really. He's one of those big playoff guys that you see perform under pressure. So I could see him helping Acceleration get over that edge.
See, I'm gonna have a very bold hot take right here, Bmatt, and it's nothing personal. I think the biggest hole in Acceleration's team is Redwater as their highest salary player. I have seen him play. He has his moments where it's very good or very bad. But if you're the highest salary on your team, you have to be somewhat consistent. I don't think he provides the consistency enough to push Acceleration over the edge. So I got Vikings in 5 for this series, Bmatt. Sep is pretty good on the Acceleration side, so is Jolly Rogers, but it's a threes league. And I think that big hole, if Redwater doesn't step up, Vikings will walk away with this series. That is my hot take.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you brought that up because it really depends, what Redwater comes to play, whether he's going to be on or off. And if he's on, I think Acceleration can definitely take this series. But if he's off, like you said, it's threes, it's not twos. So it doesn't matter how good Sep and Jolly Rogers are. It's going to be tough to practically 2v3, especially a good team like Vikings. I believe they were like 13 and yeah, they were 13 and 5. So they're going to be a tough team to beat unless Redwater brings his A game. I don't know if Acceleration can get past them.
Yeah, Vikings ended up as the 3 seed, and we were just playing Frost versus Vikings earlier this week. That's a scrim. Um, Vikings, they looked okay. They were shaky. I mean, granted, it's a scrim. Everybody take out the grain of salt, please. It's 5-1 or 6-1, whatever it was. But they're still a good team, and I think they can overcome the Acceleration hole if, like we said, Redwater doesn't show up. If he doesn't show up, I think Vikings move on with it. Next, our final match for novice, Mr. Bmatt. We have the Kiwis, Kiwis, sorry, versus the Fusion, which I think it's an interesting one. The Fusion kind of came out of nowhere here in the final stretch of the season, Mr. Bmatt. And Kyle on the Diffusion team, I can't believe I'm saying this, he might be the best novice this season over Vokes, Chad, and everybody else. I think he might be one of the best and or the best novice player to play novice this season.
The best novice player is definitely you. I mean, you gotta have confidence in yourself, you know.
Oh,
But
I'm not saying I'm not confident in myself. I'm just saying Kyle. I mean, he's pretty good. I think he's overall the best novice player in my opinion.
you soloed that, trust. But
Okay.
looking at the diffusion roster, I mean, Seaben, I had him on my team, I believe 2 seasons ago. He was very solid. He's obviously gotten better now that he's 1300. He wasn't 1300 back then, but he was a solid player. Like you said, I haven't seen Kyle play, but if he's that solid, Diffusion's going to be tough to beat. I mean, Kiwi's a very solid team. Brindy, I played on his team for 2 seasons, I believe. He's a good player, but I know from my experience, he's a little inconsistent. I don't know if he's fixed that, but when I was on his team, he was pretty inconsistent. When he played good, we were almost unstoppable. We won basically every game, but you never knew which Brindy you were going to get. It was kind of the same thing as Redwater. I mean, it all just depends which teammate you got.
Fair enough. And I guess I'll start with my prediction here, BMAT. I'm gonna have the first upset in novice. I think the Fusion will beat the Kiwis. Kiwis lost a player from non-playing, so they had to fill the holes. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ouija. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But that hole in the lineup for Kiwis, their team changed. One player changes the team, and it's not proven yet, and they're jumping into the 2 seed versus the Fusion, which they're having momentum because of the play-in match. and I don't know if Kiwis have scrimmed at all or have played at all. So give me the Fusion in 6. I think the Fusion will get it. Kyle will take over for the most part. And not to say Brendy is bad by any means, but give me that first upset here in the novice for the first round.
I can definitely see it happening. If Brindy doesn't come to play, I mean, no hate against him, but if he doesn't come to play, then I think Diffusion can easily take this. But I think if he shows up, then it's going to be a tough series. I mean, either way, it'll be a pretty solid series. But Kyle, he's the best player in novice, like you say. Him and Seabens combined, I think they're going to be pretty good. So I can definitely hop on that game 6 Diffusion.
Oh yeah, and any other comments, Bmatt, before we move up? We're just talking, like I said, we're just talking about first rounds today, guys. So I mean, even if our predictions are wrong, we still have a correct prediction for the next episode. Hopefully for the semifinals. Bmatt, any other regards for novice before we move on? Because we spent so much time with the first two leagues. We're already 22 minutes in.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right, let's speed it up a little bit more. As I mean, it might be bad because we're going to higher leagues, but we're already on 22 minutes. All right, first match: Origin versus Hypernova. Now, Hypernova 1-5 tonight, and it was I don't know. Was it Hypernova? I swear it was faded. I'm so confused. I thought it was faded that one. Am I wrong? Yeah, I thought faded one. Yeah. Faded one. I don't know. It's wrong here. It's wrong on the sheet. Anyway, Origin versus Faded. Faded 1-5. I knew something was up with that. Faded, they were in the grand finals last season and came up a little short. But Origin, they've had a very good season overall. And they somehow always seem to find a way in the Prospect League. I think they have the most chips in Prospect behind the Melons, or they're equal or something like that. But Mr. Bmatt, I had Origin in this one with Air Sweeney, Dr. Waffles, and Mr. Frosty on the. I don't know if he's a starter or the bench, but I got Origin, I think, in 7. I think it'll be close. Even though they're the 1 versus 8 seed. Might go 6. It'll probably go 6, but, I think Origin's going to squeak out with a win here.
See, it's always tough when you're doing the 1 seed games because
Yeah.
you expect like a blowout, you expect them to just take control. But then you also have to take in fact it's the playoffs, these teams, they're not just playing the gladiators like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Fated's a good team. All the teams in the playoffs are solid. They're there for a reason. But I think I could see Origin, I would say 4-1 at best. So I would say Origin will win the series, but I can see it 5 or 6. I don't think it would necessarily go 7, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if it did.
So we're both going with Origin. All right, moving on. We have the Banshees taking on the Melons. And this is an interesting one because both of these rosters, oh, not both of them, the Banshees in particular, they went through a couple roster changes this season, BMAT, and I mean, looking at it at this current moment, I mean, it can't change now. They got Allen and Creed on the Banshees, and they've bounced around quite a bit this season. And the Melons, they've stayed the same with Drips, Monkey Bacon, and Dukes, and then also Music. But man, this is, I think, gonna be a close game.
Yeah, definitely. This is a game 7. That's almost like a
Yeah.
lock for sure. I mean, Banshees, I feel like Melons are going to end up coming out on top. I don't see them winning in 4 or 5. It's definitely going to be a game 6 or game 7. But Melons have had basically the entire season playing with each other. And like you said, Banshees have made so many like roster moves. I just don't know if, they're going to have the chemistry and all that to be able to come out on top under pressure.
You know what, B-Man? Give me Melons in 7. I think we're gonna have an upset here. I mean, it's 4 versus 5 to begin with, right? But I think technical upset. The Melons is the 5th seed beating the Banshees in 7. So moving on from that, unless you have anything else to say about that, B-Man, we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, we're gonna go to the other side of the bracket where we have Warhawks taking on Velocity, and man, oh man, this Warhawks roster is something else. Uh, I mean, you remember those? The trade I just said about the Banshees. Yeah, they went to the Warhawks. With Alpha, I don't know, Strato Street, I don't know, whatever. I don't even want to keep going. Alpha, Rogue, and then Humpty Dumpling 22, known as Sage. And then I play for Slays as their full roster. The Warhawks are a pretty good team, but I think we're gonna have another upset. I think Velocity somehow come on top. Weirdly enough, I do think Warhawks is a very good team, but Velocity has Carnage. I mean, I had Carnage at the beginning of the season. He's not a terrible player. Do I think he's worth 1490? Maybe not necessarily. But give me Velocity in 7. I think it's gonna be another game 7, and I think it's gonna be an upset here. Bmatt.
I can see the game 7, but I feel like Warhawks will come out on top. I mean, Velocity, good team. Carnage, like you said, it may not completely be worth his MMR, but I'm not worth my MMR. I'm gonna be honest. I'm
Who is
so
right?
inconsistent.
Who's worth their MMRs?
Uh, yeah, you know.
Yeah, fair
But
enough.
I don't know. Rogue, I love Rogue. Rogue's gonna carry. All right. Um, he's got that trust. I
I
mean,
I don't know about that. Rogue is a very mental player. If you're in his head, I'm not gonna say it's game over, but you're definitely gonna be having an edge. Because when Rogue's mental is not there, you have a pretty decent chance of winning. And I think it's truly gonna rely on that, and also who the Warhawks start as their third, either Sage or Slays. I think that's going to be a very telltale sign of how the series will go. I think Warhawks have the two best players in the series, but I think Velocity is the overall better roster, in my opinion. So that's why I'm going to go with Velocity here. Any other comments for you, Mr. Bman?
I mean, with Rogue being such a mental player, like you say, I think Velocity, if they can just focus on bumps and demos, just be annoying, I think that could really get him kind of tilted, and that could kind of mess everything up for Warhawks. But I don't know. I think Rogue can stay calm, and I think he can control.
And we're going to move to our final matchup here. We have Minotaurs taking on the Wyverns. Now, Minotaurs had a little bit of roster changes throughout the season, and Wyverns, I don't know where to start. They've had a good season and also a very bad season at the same time, with their players either getting suspended or, just something, out of, you know, the league's control. Like, not playing aside, they did something that they weren't supposed to do for a suspension. I won't get into detail about that, but Wyverns, if they had their starting team, I think they're front runners to win the whole thing. But they don't have their full team. They don't got Marco. He is suspended, and I think Riley's pretty good. I don't think the Wyverns team will pull this out. I think the Minotaurs have the slight edge over it, just because I think they've been playing together a little bit longer as a combined unit. Because, like I said, Wyverns, they've had their suspension issues. So give me Minotaurs in 5. I think it will be more of a blowout than people think. And Minotaurs they're a pretty good team overall. I think people sleep on them just a little bit, but I think the Wyverns will definitely make it a lot closer. I mean, than it seems. I mean, it might be 4-1, but all those games might be like 1 goal games. You know what I mean? It won't be a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree. Wyvern's not having arguably their best player. I think that's definitely going to throw a curveball to them. Um, I think the Minotaurs will definitely take it 5 or 6. I don't see Wyverns pushing it to 7. You know, just not having your possibly your best player, depending on how people would look at it. I think that's definitely going to screw them up. I don't know if they're going to be able to get over that.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's move on to Chally. I would say we're halfway there, but I mean technically we are. If
Just
you want
about.
to, just not count provisional. So first match we have the Griffins taking on the Wraiths, and man, the Wraiths put on a show today against Ascension, knocking them out. And this might be one of those games to where you think it's gonna be not close, but that Wraiths roster's pretty decent. Bowser, he came in later in the season to this Wraith team, and he's a pretty good player for 15-29. He's on the bottom end of the league, Bmatt, and he might be a diamond in the rough, and I think Wraiths will take this in six. Actually, Griffins they have a very good roster. They're a very good team, but the Wraiths, I mean, like you said, that 1 versus 8's always shaky, and I think Wraiths will come up on top.
Yeah, it's definitely shaky. I don't know if Wraiths have what it takes to knock out the best team and challenger, but I can see it being very close. Like we said, the ones and the eights, you never really know. I mean, sometimes you'll have the one seed going in there real cocky because they're the best team in the league, and sometimes that screws them over. So
Right.
it'll be close, but I think I'm gonna have to go with, Griffins and 7. I mean, Wraiths will push them to their limit, but I think they'll be able to prevail.
I think that might be the matchup to watch here in the first round for Chally. Griffins versus the Wraiths. I think that's gonna be a heck of a game. But let's continue on. So the second match here in the this side of the bracket, we have Snowstorm taking on the Bishops, fourth and fifth seeds respectively. And before you get my very unbiased answer, B man, what do you think about this matchup, man?
Just for you, you know, Snowstorm, they looked good all season. I mean, they're a solid team. Bishops, solid team. I think I can see Snowstorm coming out on top, but this is going to be another game 6, game 7. Um, I mean, I don't really know too much about the Bishops, but just for your sake, it'll be a close matchup. But we'll root for you. We'll root for your Snowstorm.
All right.
I'll say in 6.
You know what? That sounds reasonable as well. I'm gonna go Snowstorm at 6. I mean, I seen the Bishops roster, also very solid. But at one point in time in the season, B-Matt, I'm not sure if you knew this, they were looking to trade away their team. Uh, that's something that not a lot of people know. But I do know that Cream, the former Chess Hall GM, was trying to trade away this roster. So there might be problems on this team that we might not even know about. And Snowstorm, I will say this, they never sweep at all whatsoever. So it would not be a 4-0 or even a 4-1. So 6 sounds very good to me. And Snowstorm, they're pretty good. A lot of people don't really know who Brudder and Bondo are. I drafted them in the season. I knew him from another league. And Brudder is like top 5 in most stats. So we'll just see if Snowstorm will overcome the Bishops and checkmate them in their own game. Ha ha ha.
Gosh.
The
Wow.
puns, the puns, the news post puns. I
I,
know
I,
everybody
you know,
likes
I
them.
should have expected something.
I knew everybody likes my news post puns. Everybody's like, "What the hell, Dan?" Oh, I do it for the cringe, guys. Trust me. I don't just do it just to make a funny joke. Because do I think they're actually funny? No, I think it's just to make people cringe. Moving on though to the other side of the bracket, and honestly, my opinion, just looking at these four teams, I think this is the easier side of the bracket. I mean, you give me a call it a Mickey Mouse bracket because I have a favorite coming out of this side of the bracket. But we'll get to that when the time comes. Right now, we have Hellcats taking on the Motion team. And Motion, oh man. Listen, when you get favorited into the sixth spot, what do you think their record would be, BMAT, before looking at it? Like, what do you think a six seed's
You know,
record should be?
a 6 seed, especially in the playoffs, you have to at least have a winning record, right? I mean, surely nothing less.
Well, you see, by some rules, BMAT. Motion, they're 8-10 as the sixth seed. They're the lowest record out of all 10 teams that made the postseason in Challenger. um, isn't that crazy? Like even like the 9-9 Flame team that was the 10th seed going into the play-ins. Motion was lower than them, but they already clinched playoffs. Isn't that weird?
That's just I feel like that's not even fair. I mean, you have divisions for a reason, but divisions should just get you into the postseason. You shouldn't automatically lock in playoffs, especially being the worst team there technically.
Yeah, so
I mean,
technically, yeah, this Motion team is the
uh,
worst team in this whole
yeah,
Challenger postseason. Now, going off of that, I think the Hellcats will 4-0 sweep them.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't think
And
Motion has business being there.
yeah, I mean, I don't know tiebreakers, but Drake's they're the 11 seed. If Motion didn't win their division, depending on tiebreakers, they could have even taken their spot.
Yep.
So like that's gotta say something.
Yeah, I think it's the head-to-head tiebreaker Bmatt on that. I don't. What? Yeah, because they played in the final match of the season, and I believe Motion won. I think. I could be wrong. Please don't quote me. But they're in the same division, so they changed it a little bit, BMAT, over the seasons here. I don't know if you knew that about clinching. It's not one team from every division anymore. It's it's based off of like total records. So um for the top 6 seeds, there has to be at least 2 teams from the East and or 2 teams from the West. So it could be 4-2 or 3-3. So they changed it a little bit. So it's not just winning the division anymore. But moving on from that, Hellcats 4-0 sweep. Sorry, Motion. I don't think you really have any like belongings to be in the playoffs. If so, it's gonna be a 4-1. I don't think you're gonna move on. I'm not saying you guys are bad players, but um, you might be in the wrong spot in the wrong time, and you might have just got like a Mickey Mouse part of it. So unfortunate. Sorry. I'm just cutthroat. And we got Orbit taking on Assassins. Now, when I said the Mickey Mouse part of the bracket, this Orbit team, man, they're pretty good. I think they got this whole side of the bracket locked down. I mean, we're gonna do another predictions video, but like, wow, this Orbit team, I got them in 5.
100%. I mean, unless Assassins just pull a major upset that everyone who bets on in the stream would lose all their coins, um, I don't see Assassins even competing. I mean, Orbit's taking it in 5, possibly even.
I mean, you got Critter and DJD. That's all you need to know in Orbit.
Yeah, literally.
Former GM and GM of the Space Gym. They're pretty good to begin with. So I think they'll walk away with this in a 4-1 fashion, or even a 4-2, but probably 4-1. I think. Any
Either
other
way, they
comments
it.
and challenge?
No, I think we're good.
Sorry, I know I cut you off there. I'm like, ugh, stop it. We're already going on like
Gotta keep
40
on
minutes.
moving.
Yeah, we're on like 40 minutes, so I want to try to hurry up here because I know people don't want to listen to like an hour podcast.
Speed run, let's go.
uh, so first we have Knights taking on Hydra. Hydra, they won the night. Um, they won in a sweep. So hey, I mean that's good. You got Squirrel, Luis, and Squintle top of my head, and then for the Knights, they have right. Excuse me. They have Edwin, T-Man, and Flip. And Knights, I mean the 1 seed, crazy. Hydra, they're usually a staple in the rival league, making playoffs for the most part. But unfortunately for Hydra, I don't have them going past this Knights roster. I got Knights in 6.
Yeah, and the ones and the 8s are usually the toss up match.
Right.
But I feel like the Knights have this in control. Edwin, in my opinion, probably top 3 in rival. I mean, he's been dominant for a couple seasons now, and I just don't see Hydra even really competing. I mean, they're a solid team, but if they were playing anyone but Knights, I could see an upset. I just don't see it.
Right, fair enough. So next we have Vortex taking on a rival. Rival. I mean, I think they've had a very quiet season for the most part. They weren't like the most talked up team, but they weren't like out of it. But with that being said, can't go wrong with Lush. I got Vortex in 7.
I'm sorry, Austin. I can't do a rival this time.
Ooh,
I
rocker
mean,
man.
don't ban me, but like, I just don't see it. Like you said, a rival hasn't been as solid as they have been in the past. Um, they're not the same team as they were the last few seasons. I mean, they're still good. I believe like 12-6 or something like that. Pretty good record, but Vortex has that. I can see 7. I can see 6. I think it's going to be competitive like most series. Obviously we're saying these series are going to be long and whatnot, but
It might be
you'll have
sweeps.
some that'll be you'll have some that'll shock us all and be sweeps, be 4-1s, even when they should be close. But
Right.
Vortex and 6, Vortex and 7, somewhere around definitely.
Yeah. Flipping on to the other side of the bracket, we got Galaxy taking on the Chimeras. Gotta roast the Chimera's name. It's the Chimeras, guys. But another interesting one. The Chimeras. I mean, they're all right. 12-6. They're pretty good this season, overall. And Galaxy, on the other hand, they had even a better season at 13-5. Just one game difference. But with that being said, Mr. Bmatt, I'll throw it to you first. What do you got? Chimeras or Galaxy?
Galaxy and 5. We're going to be bold. Um,
Ooh.
I don't know. Galaxy, they've been good all season. I think they only have a game or two more wins than Chimeras do, but it's postseason. None of that even matters at this point. We were talking about motion, being the worst team in the playoffs, but they could put that behind them and they could be like, I believe it was like Ignite last season or something like that. They were like an 8 seed and ended up winning it.
Right. Um, just to put this, in everybody's perspective, the total MMR cap for both these teams are 6, 6, 6, 6. Both teams. That's their total MMR. Both their cap rooms are 3. So if that's not freaky, I don't know what is. But I'm up on the Galaxy train. I think they're gonna win in 5 as well. Maybe 6. I'll go 6. I'll go 6. Galaxy in 6.
If
um,
you look at the sheet, I mean, right under Galaxy, you have the Knights. They're the same exact MMR cap room with
yeah, it's
the
still
Knights
more
together,
freaky.
but it's getting a little weird.
All in the same column too. Come on,
Yeah.
Bearcats, you're messing it up. Last match of the rival first round playoffs. Got the Gravelords taking on the Pineapples. Um, Give me Gravelords in 7. I think LK and K a pretty good team. Pineapples, they've had a very shaky season, and I think Gravelords just have better ground and better footsteps. I think they'll take this easily.
Yeah, I mean, look at the duo LK, K. Like, you got the names that are matching up together. Like, what says dominance like that?
My whole
Gravelord.
season 5 snow team name.
Oh, that is true. But that was weird though. I'm not
We
gonna
won the
lie.
chip too.
You did, but like, yeah. Gravelords in 5. Gravelords. We'll go 5.
All right, fair enough. Let's head to the Titan League. Let's get this done. Yeah, we're starting to go over our budget here. um, but this is gonna be probably the longest podcast because we're going over every first round match, and after this we literally split it in half. So that's fun. So first things first. Do we even want to talk about it? Dragons versus Spartans. I got Dragons in 5. Dragons are pretty good. There's nothing else to say about it. I mean, I like foam. Not gonna be holding up to the Dragons though.
I can see a sweep. I mean, Dragons have been unstoppable. The only team that beat them was Pinnacle, and Bluey. Bluey for MVP. They got that.
Oh, fair enough. Bananas versus the Grand Masters. Give me Grand Masters in 6. I was gonna say 5, but give me in 6. I think Deluxe always seems to find a way to make a deep playoff run every single season. And Bananas, I think they're gonna be cutting up short here. I mean Deluxe and Nuggy, they're pretty good on the Grandmasters. Grandmasters have been pretty good all season. They've been together, those two. So give me Grandmasters in 6.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. It's technically an upset. We like upsets, but
Go crazy.
Grandmasters definitely, I would say the better.
Yeah, I think so too. Next, we have Venganza versus Inferno. So, Venganza, third seed, and then Inferno is the ye old 6th seed. Um, I like Venganza. They always seem to make it to the semifinals every season and lose. So I have them winning in 7 this time around. Kratos and Yurks, I don't think they have what it takes against this Venganza team. I could be wrong, but I think the Venganza team will hold strong, and then they'll lose the next round, like they always do.
So they're basically, they're the classic choke team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not even the players; it's just the team.
Yeah, just bad juju with the team. And
And
if
they call themselves
listen to
the
that right
Victory
there,
Org. Ah.
Titan League players, watch out! Don't play for Venganza. Apparently, if you want dreams of a championship,
Don't
unless
go
you
there.
know, unless you want to try and change history, completely against the odds. But we'll see.
I mean, I'll say this: if you want to go to a championship team, Titan, there's 3 teams you have to look at. And I'm not
Blizzard,
saying I'm not saying this season, but Blizzard,
knew it.
Reapers, and Pinnacle. Those are the teams you want to get on if you want to make somewhat of a run. Because Blizzard 3-peat champions, my boys. Pinnacle, the second winning team. Pinnacle lost twice during the Blizzard in those grand finals, and then Reapers also lost in the grand finals against Blizzard. But all those teams are like historically pretty good in the Titan League. But that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the final game here: Pinnacle versus Diversion. Pinnacle's pretty good. I'm not even gonna say Mitch is the carry because personally I don't like Mitch, so I'm not gonna be like bah, 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 bah. I think Brandon's pretty good though overall. But for this Pinnacle team early in the season, I just have to say it because it needs to be said. It was me, Zen, which he is going to the army, I believe. So thank you. Going to boot camp. And 2 Money. It was us 3 versus Mitch, Brandon, and MJ on the Pinnacle team. We swept Pinnacle. um, I totally played a part. I had a nice passing play, but that's it. I mean, they truly carried me. But I'm gonna have to go with Pinnacle. I think Mitch and Brandon duo is pretty good compared to Diversion's team with Burr and Poods and G Games. Even if I don't even know if Poods is playing, I doubt it. But I will take Pinnacle in 5.
Yeah, I can see Pinnacle in 5. Um, they're one of the favorites to win it. Um, I think most people would have Dragons versus them in a rematch from earlier this season. Pinnacle has the only, win against Dragons this season, so I think a lot of people actually want to see that rematch.
Yeah, absolutely. Bmatt, do you have anything to say about Titan League or any other league at this point?
Not really. I mean, I'm excited. We're at playoffs. We just got done with the play-ins. That was fun. Fun past week, but everything that we've played for the last like 9 weeks comes down to this.
Yeah, haters were, dreams made and or crushed at the same time. And this is, like I said, where boys become men. Or, still kids in a man's body. We're all playing Rocket League at heart. We're still kids. These people don't want to admit it or not. But eventually we all need to touch grass eventually. Some of us do, some of us don't, whatever. Um, but BMAT, thank you for this long episode of the Nemesis podcast. Thank you for joining me.
For having me, man. It was a lot of fun. Little late night playoffs talk. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah. At the time of recording, guys, we started at like 2:30. Just to let you know. That's crazy. We've been here for like an hour talking literally about Rocket League Nemesis. But thank you guys for watching and or listening. Make sure you guys like and follow or subscribe whatever platform you are on. Make sure you follow all our social medias and tell your friends to join the league because people are fun, but they're also stupid at the same time. So it's always funny to watch some mold moments, happy times, sad times, and hey, join the community. But once again, thanks guys for listening and watching, and we will see you guys next time.